Hello and welcome. Today's video is one of the most powerful and unbelievable stories you're ever going to hear. I want to share something deeply personal, profound, and mysterious. Real-life stories from 6 hospice nurses and doctors who have witnessed something extraordinary in their line of work. The presence of what they believe to be angels in the final moments of a person's life. These aren't just stories passed around in whispers or folklore. These are first-hand accounts from seasoned professional hospice nurses and doctors who have spent years at the bedside of the dying. Each of them has had at least one moment where the veil between this life and whatever comes next felt thin, sometimes breathtakingly so. Have you ever wondered if angels are real? The first story I'm going to share with you is a true story from a highly respected hospice nurse, Julie McFaden. She's worked with people at the very end of life for over 20 years. And what she saw one night might just change how you see everything. So stay with me till the end of this video, because not only did she see something, but what happened after that moment will seriously give you chills. Nurse Julie is someone who's seen thousands of people in their final moments. She doesn't chase fame. She's just a nurse doing her job with love and compassion. And after all these years, she finally decided to speak up about something she experienced, something that stayed with her ever since. Now, this isn't someone who claims to talk to spirits every day. In fact, she admits she didn't even believe in things like angels before this happened. But one night on a hospice visit, something happened that made her stop in her tracks. Julie was on a late shift. She was tired. She wasn't thrilled about working overtime. But when she arrived at the home of a young woman who had just come from the hospital, everything changed. The woman was very sick. Julie took one look at her and could tell she didn't have long, maybe just hours. She got her settled in the hospital bed. The woman was unconscious, her breathing was shallow, her body cold and pale. All the classic signs that her time was near. Julie went to speak with the family, 2 grown kids who didn't quite realize how close their mom was to passing. Julie gently explained everything, told them what to expect, and stayed longer than she needed to. She just had this feeling. Before she left, Julie stepped into the room to check on the patient one last time. And that's when it happened. She saw something. It was real as anything she's ever felt. There was a presence in the room, a figure. It wasn't soft or glowing or full of light like people imagine angels to be. No, this thing was huge. It was towering over the woman's bed, reaching the ceiling, wide as a car. Strong, solid, heavy. It had the shape of a person, broad shoulders, maybe wings tucked behind it, but it didn't move. It didn't speak, but it did give her a feeling. It was like the presence, not in a scary way, not evil, but in a way that said, "I've got her. She's mine now." Julie left the house that night thinking, okay, I just imagined that. She pushed it out of her mind. She figured the woman would pass any minute after she left. But what happened next blew everyone away. The next morning, Julie checked her phone expecting to hear that the woman had passed, but there was nothing, no message, no call, no update. She called the family, thinking maybe something went wrong, maybe they had to call 911 or something. But when the son picked up, what he said stunned her. He said, "Julie, my mom's in the kitchen. She woke up, she's eating pancakes." Julie couldn't believe it. She raced over to the house, and there she was. This woman who had been about to die was now sitting up, smiling, laughing, eating breakfast with her kids. Not only did she come back, but she lived. Not just for a day, not just for a week. She lived for 3 more months. She laughed. She made memories. She had more time with her children. Julie had seen rallies before, moments where a dying person gets better briefly. But nothing like this. Not this strong. Not this long. As time went by, Julie kept thinking back to that image, that moment, that presence. She didn't talk about it for years. She was scared of sounding crazy, but deep down, she knew what she felt. She doesn't claim to have all the answers. She doesn't even say with full certainty that it was an angel. But what she saw felt powerful. It didn't feel sweet or soft. It felt strong, protective, and real. And the woman's recovery? No medical explanation. To Julie, it was a miracle. Maybe it was a guardian angel. Maybe they don't all look like what we see in paintings. Maybe some angels are just different. So what do you think? Do you believe in angels? Do you think that the presence Julie saw was real? Have you ever experienced anything like this with someone you love? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear your stories. Our second story comes from Lisa Corrian, a highly respected registered nurse with over 22 years of experience in hospice care. Working closely with the dying, Lisa has witnessed more final moments than most people ever will in a lifetime. But nothing could have prepared her for what she saw one quiet night in a rural hospice facility in upstate New York. It was a routine night shift. Lisa was caring for an 84-year-old woman named Eleanor, who was peacefully approaching her final moments. The room was calm, dimly lit, and filled with a deep sense of quiet. Lisa had stepped out briefly to check on some medications, but when she returned, something completely unexplainable happened. Lisa says she stopped dead in her tracks. Just a few feet away from Eleanor's bed, she saw what she can only describe as a soft, glowing figure. This figure was tall, cloaked in flowing white, and radiated a powerful presence of compassion that seemed to fill the entire room. It wasn't a shadow or trick of the light. Lisa knew what she was seeing. She describes it as the kind of stillness that stops time. She stood frozen, overwhelmed by a feeling that something divine was unfolding right in front of her. She blinked once, and the glowing figure vanished. In the next moment, Eleanor took her final breath. Lisa was stunned. For an entire week, she told no one. She questioned herself. Was it exhaustion? Her imagination? But when she finally confided in another nurse, she was met with a chilling response. "You're not the first to see them." That sentence changed Lisa's life. She began to pay more attention, not just to physical signs of death, but to the energetic and spiritual shifts that often happen in those final hours. Today, Lisa firmly believes that some patients are not alone when they die. She believes that angels or divine beings are there to help them cross over peacefully. Her story has since inspired thousands online, stirring up viral conversations about near-death visions, the afterlife, and the unseen comfort many believe shows up in our final moments. If you've ever wondered what happens in the sacred seconds between life and death, this story will leave you questioning everything and looking at the world with new eyes. Our third story comes from Dr. Harish Meta, the doctor who witnessed the unseen during a patient's final moments. Dr. Harish Meta is a highly respected palliative care physician with over 18 years of experience. Known for his quiet, reserved nature and deeply rational approach to medicine, Dr. Mehta is the kind of doctor who prefers science over spirituality. He never entertained supernatural ideas and rarely spoke of anything outside the scope of clinical facts. That's why what happened during one late night on duty changed his entire perspective. Forever. Dr. Mehta was caring for a 67-year-old man named Raymond. Raymond had no family, no visitors, and was nearing the end of his life. He had battled illness quietly and was expected to pass within hours. Dr. Mehta was in the room adjusting medications and monitoring his patient's vitals when something inexplicable happened. Raymond, who had been unconscious, suddenly opened his eyes wide. He looked alert and focused, as if seeing something vivid and real. He stared toward the ceiling, his face lit up with a sense of awe, and then he whispered a chilling but beautiful sentence. He said, "They're here, the two men in the light." Dr. Mehta froze. He turned to look, but no one was there. There were no lights, no people, no hallucination-inducing medications recently administered, nothing that could explain what Raymond had seen. Raymond smiled, his breathing slowed, and within seconds he peacefully passed away. For a doctor who had always looked at death through a purely medical lens, this was the moment everything changed. Dr. Mehta now speaks with quiet confidence about what he witnessed. He says, "We don't die alone. There is help, a transition team, if you will." He still doesn't use the word angel lightly, but he admits, if that's not what they are, then I don't know what is. This extraordinary moment has left an indelible mark on Dr. Mehta's career and life. He now listens more closely when patients speak of visions or presences in their final hours, and he encourages other professionals to stay open, to pay attention, and to honor what cannot be seen by the eye, but deeply felt by the soul. This story is not just about what happened in a quiet hospice room, it's about what may be waiting for all of us at the edge of this life. If you believe there's more to life than what we can see, or if you've ever wondered what happens in the moments just before we leave this world, then this story deserves your attention. Share it. Comment below if you or someone you know has ever witnessed something similar. These stories could change the way we see death and maybe even the way we live. Our fourth story comes from nurse Patricia Gomez, who has worked in hospice care for over 11 years. During that time, she has witnessed many emotional and powerful moments. But there is one experience she says she will never forget for the rest of her life. According to her, it happened during the final hours of a young mother named Jennifer. Jennifer was in her late 30s and dying from an aggressive form of cancer. By her side was her 5-year-old daughter quietly coloring in a chair near the bed, unaware of how close her mother was to taking her final breath. The room was silent, still, with only the soft beeping of monitors and the subtle rhythm of Jennifer's breathing filling the air. And then, something extraordinary happened. Just as Jennifer began slipping away, her little girl suddenly stopped coloring, looked up, and calmly said, "Mommy, the sparkly lady is behind you. She says it's time." Pat froze. She turned around quickly, looking toward the area behind the bed, but there was no one there. No visitors, no staff, no shadow, no figure. Just the soft hum of the quiet hospice room. But the way the little girl spoke, with peace, with certainty, with joy, sent chills through Pat's entire body. Goosebumps ran down her arms and tears welled up in her eyes. She began to cry silently. Jennifer passed just a few minutes later. Peacefully, gently, as if someone had come to guide her home. Later, when Pat shared the experience with her hospice team, one of the nurses told her something that stopped her in her tracks. She said, "Children often see what we can't. They're not bound by the filters adults develop over time." Since then, Pat has paid close attention to children during moments of transition. She says they often speak about things that defy logic, things that feel like they're coming straight from another realm. Today, Patricia Gomez firmly believes that something greater, something beyond the physical world, guides us when our time on Earth comes to an end. And sometimes that presence is seen most clearly through the innocent eyes of a child. If you've ever wondered what lies beyond death, or if we are truly alone when we leave this world, this story may make you question everything you thought you knew. The experience of this little girl might be the proof that love, light, and guidance meet us on the other side. Our fifth story is about Kevin Dillard's powerful angel encounter with a dying veteran, a true hospice experience that will forever change how you view death. Kevin Dillard is a registered hospice nurse with over 15 years of experience in end-of-life care. He's seen hundreds of patients pass, each with their own journey. But nothing could prepare him for what he witnessed one quiet evening in a small hospice room, a moment that shook him to the core and redefined what he believes happens at the edge of life and death. The patient was Samuel, a Vietnam veteran who had lived with the heavy weight of PTSD for decades. Samuel was not just physically frail, he carried deep emotional scars. He was terrified of dying. Every conversation Kevin had with him in those final days centered around fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, fear of what might come next. On the night Samuel began to transition, what hospice professionals call the active dying phase, something extraordinary happened. Samuel, who had been mostly unresponsive, suddenly sat upright in bed. His eyes opened wide, filled not with fear, but awe. He looked past Kevin into what seemed like empty space and softly said, "I see them, 3 of them, wings and all." Kevin stood still, stunned. There was no one else in the room, but the energy shifted. Kevin described it as a thick stillness, a silence that felt sacred, almost suspended in time. He had never felt anything like it in all his years of nursing. Samuel slowly lay back down, his breathing slowing. Tears rolled down his cheeks, but he smiled, a peaceful, contented smile. And just like that, he took his final breath. Kevin was deeply moved. In his words, "It was the most humbling moment of my entire career. I believe with all my heart that someone came to get him. He didn't die alone. No one ever does." Since that day, Kevin's understanding of death has completely transformed. He now believes that each person is gently escorted from this world by beings of light, whether you call them angels, guardians, or divine helpers. If you've ever wondered what happens in those final moments, this true story will leave you breathless. It's not just about death, it's about the unseen beauty that surrounds our final breath. This is more than a hospice story. It's a spiritual awakening, a reminder that even at the end of life, there is hope, light, and a sacred presence waiting to guide us home. Our sixth and final story today brings us to the story of Dr. Cynthia Reeves. Dr. Cynthia Reeves is a respected hospice doctor and renowned researcher who has dedicated her career to understanding end-of-life experiences. With years of experience at the bedside of the dying, she has not only provided compassionate care, but also documented extraordinary phenomena that challenge what we believe about the moment of death. One story from Dr. Reeves continues to leave even the most skeptical minds in awe. She was caring for a patient named Margaret, a deeply spiritual woman in her 70s who was nearing the end of her life. For several nights before her passing, Margaret calmly and consistently told the hospice staff that angels were visiting her. She described them as peaceful beings of light who came to her room during the quiet hours of the night. Many assumed these visions were side effects of strong pain medications or the natural progression of the dying process. But Dr. Reeves paid attention. Margaret's clarity, calmness, and detailed descriptions stood out. She wasn't confused or disoriented. She was confident and serene. Then came the night that changed everything. Margaret was in her final moments, and the room was quiet, dimly lit, and still. Dr. Reeves was present with two experienced hospice nurses. As Margaret took her final breaths, the room suddenly filled with a soft, luminous light. It wasn't coming from any lamp or window. It wasn't the reflection of a phone or machine. The light seemed to hover gently, illuminating the room with a warmth that all three witnesses could feel. It lasted just a few seconds. Then, just as gently as it had appeared, the light faded away. At that exact moment, Margaret passed peacefully. Dr. Reeves later described the moment as the mystery of presence, a powerful and unexplainable event that defies the limits of science. She has since spoken publicly about what she experienced that night, urging other healthcare professionals not to dismiss the spiritual experiences of dying patients. While science may never fully explain what they saw, she believes these sacred moments should be honored and acknowledged. This story has captivated thousands because it raises questions we all ask. What really happens when we die? Are we truly alone in those final moments, or is there something, someone, waiting to guide us home? If you're searching for real-life angel stories, near-death experiences, and spiritual insights from the front lines of hospice care, this is one you won't forget. These 6 professionals, nurses and doctors alike, didn't go looking for mystical experiences, but something found them. Whether you call them angels, guides, spirits, or simply energy, there's a recurring theme here: peace, beauty, accompaniment. Not one of these stories is about fear or dread. They're about light, compassion, and the powerful idea that we may not be alone when we leave this world. So whether you believe or not, I invite you to hold space for the possibility that something greater, something unseen, may walk beside us, especially when we need it most. Share this story if you believe in the unseen, if you honor the mystery, or if you've ever wondered what truly happens at the edge of life and death. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video.